like to build and grow multiple seven-figure businesses leveraging remote virtual assistants? Today's your chance because Joe Rayer will tell us how to do it. He's the CEO and owner of Level9 Virtual, and he's a serial entrepreneur, investor, and outsourcing expert who owns 4 digital companies, 5 wedding venues, and real estate investment properties as well. The first question I have is, how can entrepreneurs build a 7-figure business leveraging remote virtual assistants?
Welcome to Awakened Titans podcast with Lily Patrascu. Mind-blowing conversations with influential business titans sharing how you can manifest abundance, love, joy, success through quantum awakening, quantum manifestation, quantum healing, quantum miracles, exponential business growth, and innovative products and services.
Well, how can they? The first thing they have to do is start outsourcing. Actually, take projects, take tasks, take things that that you need to get off your plate, and just start practicing outsourcing, getting things into other people's hands, delegating, and getting good with that. I mean, that's the very beginning. And once you understand how to outsource, once you get decent at delegating projects and tasks, then you can start to decide how you want to orchestrate a team and really create an environment that will allow your business to flourish just with outsourced staff. So that would be my first suggestion.
Thank you. What's the best place to find high quality remote VAs?
I mean, I would say come to my company, Level9 Virtual, but there's a lot of places. You can do direct recruiting through the Philippines. We primarily look towards the Philippines for a few reasons. The first is simply that, the Philippines, they listen to our music, they watch our movies, they wear our clothes. As far as like a US culture goes, right? They really understand the US culture. So if you have a US based business, they're going to align more readily with the US than a lot of other Asian cultures might. And so that's why we've chosen the Philippines. So I would say use an agency to start with, because they're going to have systems and processes for recruiting and vetting and timekeeping and payroll and health insurance and all of the regulatory things in the country. I would start there, and then later, if you want to go build your own business, your own recruitment model, you can go do that, and then you can hire people on your own. But I would say start with an agency like Level9 Virtual.
Thank you. I've been hiring remote VAs from the Philippines for, I think, maybe 9 years. And the challenge I've had is first, because I'm based in the UK, so the time difference is there. And what I've found is that because I actually prefer to work, for example, from 11 a.m. onwards until let's say 1 in the morning. And there's, I think, like an 8-hour time difference, which means that for them to be able to work until, let's say, 11 p.m., that will make it too late for them. And what I've found because of that is that they tend to be quite unreliable. So what I mean by unreliable is they would still do the work, but they would do it, in a very kind of like random way, not what you would expect to be like, let's say, a 9 to 5 or a 9 to 8 or a 9 to 7 or whatever it was that you agreed with them. There is no actual time that they are coming at to say like, okay, come from this time to this time. They are never doing that. So I wonder whether you've come up with a way to structure the work for your remote VAs that made it possible to have a sustainable 7-figure business where you can have reliable remote VAs.
Yeah. So, Level9 Virtual is an 8-figure company, and we have figured out a way to employ individuals to work within our company and for our clients. Like if you needed VAs, they have set schedules. We have staff that monitor their schedules. We have an HR department. We have, HR staff that works with every single person within our company. We have nearly 1,000. They all work directly with those individuals to ensure they show up on time, they do their work, they end their shift on time, they take their necessary, lawful breaks and things like that throughout the day. But we just have an actual business that runs these shifts. Like we actually understand how to make sure that people are showing up. If they don't show up, we are very quick to let somebody go if they're not going to respect the role, respect the client that they're going to be working with, and show up and actually do the work as they're scheduled to do. So we have zero tolerance when it comes to that stuff. So I think that's one of the reasons that we've had such success is that we have zero tolerance. So if you're not going to do it, you're gone. And people come to work with our company because they understand that they're building a career. One of the challenges people have, and one of the reasons that they probably have, that you're probably having a challenge as well, is, it's very transactional to hire somebody overseas. And we sit down when somebody gets hired, and the first conversation that we want to have with them is, where do they see themselves going? What is this role? Is this role a stepping stone? Are they coming to work with us so that they can go somewhere else? And that's fine if it is. We want to know that on the front end. And then we can support them to get to the goal that they have. The problem is that most VAs come in, they're used to being freelancers. Freelancers are tough because they get to come and go as they want. But everybody knows freelancing is not a sustainable career. You can't do it forever because you don't ever develop any longevity and you can't move up in the world, right? And so our goal is always to hire people for a career. And because they're coming in with that career in mind, that is the reason that they stick with us. They do the right thing. They show up to their shift on time. They do the work. We do start of day reports, end of day reports. We just got a different system than most people have. And I think that's the reason we're able to manage them more effectively.
Thank you. The other problem I've had with a lot of them is also that, let's say I hire them and they typically don't know anything, right? And then we take them through, hundreds of hours of training and they become really good really quickly. And then I start investing in their equipment. Like I buy them a computer and mouse and chair and table and whatever else they need to actually work. And what I found is that once this is done, then they leave a job.
Yeah, because you don't have any boundaries. That's the first thing. So let me ask you this. If somebody comes to, and they are a remote worker means that they are prepared to work from where they are. They should have the equipment. They should have the skill. They should have the software. If there's software that they have to have, they should have hardware. If there's hardware that they have to have, they should have all of that. If they don't have those things, then they are not prepared to work and they are not hireable. Now, in time, when somebody's proven themselves with you, they've worked with you for a period of time, you see high value in who they are within your company, we would then possibly invest in hardware, software, things like that for them. But a graphic designer who doesn't have access to Photoshop, they're not a graphic designer. Sorry. If you don't have access to the software that you use to design, but you're a designer, no, you're not. If you don't have the tool, then you aren't prepared to work. So all of those things in mind. Now, later down the road, like we get company licenses and we give, access to all the tools, but it's down the line. And so one of the challenges is if you go in and number one, don't hire somebody who doesn't have any skills. Like we never do that. Everybody has to come in with skills. They already know what they're being hired for. An HR person knows HR. Graphic designers know graphic design. Video editors know video editing. Like they come in, they know what they're supposed to be doing. If they don't, they're not hireable because we're not in the business of starting from zero. That's not our role. We can train people up to have unique, like very niche skills, but we're not going to teach them the basics. And so once they get going and, we'll expand their knowledge base, we'll give them additional resources for training and things like that. But we don't make a whole bunch of infrastructure investments into somebody who hasn't proven themselves that they're reliable, they're going to stick around, all of those things.
Thank you. Now imagine that you've hired someone who already has some equipment and proven themselves, and you want to invest, like I have, let's say, in upgrading their equipment, like maybe a better, more performant computer and, a more powerful, earphones system and so on. And once you've done that, they actually leave, or they, in most of the cases that I've had, they don't leave actually. They just find a second job, which is very annoying because then I become the second person that is going to be, that is going to have the deliverables for that day rather than the first because of the time of the day that I require them to come to work. What would you do?
Oh, I'd fire them. Yeah. I mean, we don't. Now, here's the tough part, right? So you can't necessarily, unless you're fully employing somebody, if they're an independent contractor, you can't stop them from working. But what you can do, and they should become very aware of this, in the Philippines, as an example, it is a crime, literally jail time crime, to steal hours from one business while you're working on another. So if you have somebody who's supposed to be working for you, but they're spending their time working for somebody else, and they're literally stealing your hours that you're paying for, that is theft. That is a crime. They can go to jail. It's not just a labor board issue. That is a crime in the Philippines. So we are just very transparent with people, and we let people know we don't tolerate it. We have zero tolerance towards any of these kinds of things. And if we have any suspicion of this, we'll investigate it. If we believe this to be true, then we'll actually turn it over to attorneys who will pursue. And we just don't have any tolerance for it. I think that also there becomes a reputation side of things. What is your reputation when hiring people? What is your confidence level when hiring people? If you're always fearful somebody's going to leave, they're going to leave. Always. If you're always fearful somebody's going to backdoor you with another client, they're going to. I'm sure it's probably happened. I have an HR department that deals with that, but I have no doubt that it's happened. But I do know for a fact that my internal staff on our HR team, they know for a fact the moment that happens, that person is gone, because no matter what you invested in them in the beginning, the long-term cost you're going to lose, in the long run is going to far outweigh what you've invested. So we cut them quick, and then we hire people with hopefully better skill sets, better, morals and ethics and so forth. And we just try to find better people. But I think part of it becomes like, what do you pay? What future, how does somebody see their future within your company? Do they feel like they're actually important within the company? The biggest challenges we ever run into is when somebody doesn't feel a level of importance. So if they don't feel like they matter within the business, they lose interest, they lose motivation, all of those things. And then they're willing to kind of, sidestep. And if they're not being paid well enough, they'll go try to get an extra dollar an hour somewhere else. Right. And so it's those kinds of things that we just do our best to build a culture around. And it takes work. And so, yeah. And if you're the one who's individually managing your people, you personally, that's a lot of work on you, especially when you're trying to run a business. So that's why we have an HR team.
Thank you. What's a good way to get remote VAs to actually stick with you? Is it that you pay them a lot more than the actual market? Is that a good strategy? Or is it a lot about making them feel important, like you said? Or is it like
it's more about, so my question would be, how much do you know about the individual? How much do you know about them? How much do you know about their life? Do you know what actually motivates them? Do you know why they're working with you? Like, what is it that the problem they're trying to solve? Do they have a family of 3? Do they have 2 generations living under one roof? Those kinds of things, and actually knowing those things will be one of your first indicators. Because if it's all money and I just need money, then you know how to motivate them. However, if it's, I really need a sense of like I belong somewhere, I need to feel appreciated, I need to feel like I have somewhere I'm moving up, up the ladder through the company, and I need opportunity, then you know a better way to motivate them. Most people, and this isn't a remote work thing, this is in the US, it's in the UK, it's in every Western civilization, employers don't respect their employees. They don't know why somebody has that job. They don't know what their family dynamic is like. And not saying you have to get super personal with everybody, but you should know their motivating factors. If you don't know anything about the person as a personality, you're going to have a really tough time keeping people around because you don't show you care. Like, I know there's people in my internal team that I work with on a daily basis. I know exactly what motivates them. I know that, for one guy, when he does a really good job, if I kick him a bonus, it blows his mind. While somebody else, if I give them 2 days off, they're ecstatic, and that's the thing they want because they spend it all with their kids and their wife and so forth. So you know what I mean? Like, so one of them, it's money. The other one, it's time. You got to know that about your people. And as you know that, then you can craft a career path for them and they'll stick around.
Thank you. How do you monitor and track what your remote VAs do to make sure that they do quality work and that they're not spending time playing poker?
We have video monitoring. So we have an HR team who monitors their screen and screenshots and so forth. So we use Time Doctor to monitor all that. Yeah, I mean we're just very much transparent. They have to be transparent. If there's something that's off, we directly go straight to them, ask. They get one chance to tell the truth. If something's not right, and we have to come back a second time, they're fired. Period. Like, they also understand that when they work with us too, if they do anything malicious or any of those things that you're concerned with, they lose their pay. Like, they don't get paid for the hours they worked. So it's all in our contract. It's all legal. I have an attorney in the Philippines so that I know that I'm staying on the up and up with everything that I need to be doing. But we also, all of the things that you're talking about, we don't deal with that. It's very, very, very seldom that something like you're describing actually is a concern for us. Again, and we have like 1,000 VAs. So the way that we do it, we've just built a different culture. So people don't want to do the wrong thing because they want to be involved. They want to be within our company.
Thank you. Would you say that it's because you pay them a lot more than the market?
I mean, we pay some more. We pay some right even with the market. Nobody gets paid less than what the market value is. We don't even really, if I'm not even mistaken, I don't think we even start at market level. I think we start a little higher. We just don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's just pay though. I think it's people know that if they come with us, they'll never have to try to look for work. They'll get to work within our company. They'll work with our clients and so forth. We won't let them go. They're not going to go lose anything. So that's the biggest factor, I think, is that they realize they have a career.
Thank you. Where do you suggest entrepreneurs start to delegate the tasks?
One thing that we started with, helping entrepreneurs with, is a project on demand service. So we have what we call our pod, right? It's projects on demand. And you can submit pretty much any task that you can think of, whether it's graphic design and video editing. And most of our stuff stays within kind of the marketing realm of businesses, right? The very task oriented stuff, admin type stuff. Our projects on demand service allows people to test and basically say, I want to buy a block of hours. I can use the hours over an entire month. And I just want to start getting things off my plate. I look around my desk and it's like, oh my gosh, I have that thing to do and that thing to do and that thing to do. Great. Give it to our staff. You have a dedicated project manager who will receive the project. They will farm it out to their team. Their team will complete the task. It comes back to them. All of this is done in our project management system, Asana. And you'll be able to actually get in there, review it, give recommendations or edits or any revisions that need to be made, and then you'll get a completed service back. And then what's great is, like, once you do that a few times, you go, this is pretty cool. All I did is I submitted the task and then I sat back and it got done. And then I submitted another one, sat back. And you can submit 10 at a time if you need to. But the projects on demand service lets you just buy a block of hours, use them over a month, and just get things off your plate. Some people use it as the back end of their business. Like, we actually are their service provider. That's the first place to start. Try getting things off your plate. Our projects on demand service works really well. That's a great way to do it.
It's been more effective to pay people by the hour or to pay them by task. So, for example, if they were to complete a website, they would get a certain amount of money, or is it better to pay them by the hour? And this has worked better for you.
Well, we pay our staff by the hour, right? But they have performance bases, right? They have to have output, productivity. Like, we actually monitor all of that. If their productivity slows down, then they get written up. And we actually have a whole process to monitor and make sure that they are actually performing. Because what we can't do is say we're going to charge a client by the hour and say, hey, we're going to sell you a block of hours. You're going to submit a task, and then our team takes a long time to do it. That's not okay. Right? So we actually have a productivity. We know how long something should take. And if it falls outside of that variance by a bit, then we need to go discuss with the team what's going on. Otherwise, we're like, great, they're just flying. So I don't do per project because it just doesn't really always work out, because what you could do is end up with scope creep, where a client all of a sudden bolts on more things. And then it's really hard to go back to them and say, well, you added this, so it's going to add this in cost. So what we do is we just go, look, we know basically what it costs per hour, and we just do it on an hourly basis.
Thank you. How did you manage the time differences, for example, for working with your VAs? Is it that they just know they will commit to working, I know, the graveyard shift, so like night shift or whatever it was.
That's exactly it.
Just get used to it, and that's the end.
Yeah. You know, firefighters, police officers all around the world work graveyards. So do a lot of people in the Philippines. And it's just, it becomes part of their culture. We want to make sure people are trying to be healthy. So, you know, we encourage them to have a healthy lifestyle. We encourage them to get enough sleep. You know, we make sure that they have vacation time and PTO days so that they can, if they're feeling worn down, they can take a day and rest if they need to. We never, under any circumstance, have them work weekends, ever. They need the time to rest. They should be with their family. And, you know, for us in the US, if the client is in the US, they'll get all the US holidays. So they get those as well. And those are all included just in the service costs.
Thank you. Did you include also like the extra month of paid holiday in December? Because I think that's a cultural thing that they have.
It is a cultural thing with like corporate companies. So what we do is we encourage our clients to give bonuses at the end of the year. And so at the end of the year, we make a request and say, hey, you know, give a bonus to your VA. Because if somebody's hired a dedicated VA, the only part of the process we manage is the payroll and the HR, right? So we manage all of that side of things, but the VA basically works for the client. And so it's the client's responsibility to take care of the year-end bonus. And so that's how we do it.
Thank you. How do you make sure that the remote VAs are of high quality, as in like that they are really great at their job and they're able to perform in the best way?
We test them. We test them. Yeah, we'll give them projects and make them actually prove that they can do what they say. So we don't hire anybody who says they can do something. They have to show us they can do it. And then depending on what the skill set is, we might have some additional training that we'll send them through that we just do internally. It just depends what the skill set is. But yeah, we just test them. We make them prove they can do what they say.
How do you create systems and processes that they can follow so that you have like a standard way for them to perform certain tasks?
I mean, we make them create the SOPs. So as an example, if somebody's a video editor, there's a process checklist they kind of move through, right? So then we say, okay, great, you're a video editor. Create an SOP on what you do. And if then we create a standard and then somebody else comes around, we go, great, you create an SOP. Compare the two and go, okay, now let's combine these so that they create one process and everybody follows the same process. But we don't create the process. We have the team create the process. So the VAs actually do it because they're the ones doing the work. And so they're going to create the actual SOP. And that's how we've always done it.
Thank you. Is this SOP like a checklist, like a written checklist, or is it a combination of that and a video? And if it is a video,
oh yeah,
the problem that I've seen is that, for example, let's say you do things in a certain way, and then you've come up with a better way to do a tiny part of the process to optimize it. So then 97% the same, but not exactly the same. And then, you know, like maybe next week you'll come up with something different that will be different. So then the video would completely change. So how do you do it?
Well, you shouldn't be changing your processes that often. Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels. And that would probably be a huge indicator that your revenue is probably challenged. So if you're focused on processes so much that you're iterating them that fast, the process wasn't correct to begin with, or you're choosing to work on processes instead of make money. And so as a business, rather than worrying about the staff, as a business, I would challenge, you're probably not focused on revenue generating activities. You're probably focused on busy work. If the VAs are the ones doing the work, they should be improving the process over time and they can just shoot a new video. It's not that hard, right? They update the SOP. Hey, we improved this process. Okay, let's go tweak it. Let's go change the SOP. But if you as the entrepreneur, if you're focused on that kind of stuff, your business is probably challenged because you're focused on the wrong things. Entrepreneurs should be all focused on revenue generating activities. That's why we hire VAs. That's why we hire staff, whether it's VAs or local or whatever. The reason we hire them is so that we can focus on the things that grow the business.
Thank you. Do you recommend using any software or tools in order to streamline processes and activities?
Well, I mean, use project management tools so you can track your projects. So we chose Asana a decade ago. And, I know ClickUp is a really hot tool right now. We just never switched over because there was no benefit to switching. Everything that we need is built into Asana. So we use that. A lot of people use Trello, ClickUp, Monday. Just, it depends what you want to use. So that's for project side of things. Have a marketing automation, a CRM tool, right? So you can use that. We use Slack for internal communication. So between our team and everybody. And then time tracking, we use Time Doctor too. And those are pretty much and then for HR, just because we have so many people, we use Bamboo HR for managing HR.
Thank you. What's the benefit of using Slack versus using WhatsApp? I haven't used Slack yet.
For us, it's just easier than WhatsApp. Just the way that it's structured with a lot of the automations you can build in it. We can create automations that talk into our Asana and our tools, the other tools that we have, so that they all pass data back and forth. And we create all these different channels and, client channels and, HR channels, executive team channels, all that stuff. So it's just kind of the functionality of it. WhatsApp, I'm sure that there's great features now, but when we started using Slack, WhatsApp was kind of like, you and I want to talk. We just text back and forth. And that was kind of the extent of it. We've been using Slack for a very long time. So it makes more sense to stay where we are.
Thank you. What are some of the biggest challenges that you've experienced with remote VAs, and how did you fix them?
Ooh, the biggest challenge is always communication. And one of the most important things is to make sure that you're communicating effectively. And when you think you've communicated well, make sure that they understood what you said, because the other person understanding what you communicated is your responsibility. If they don't understand it, you didn't communicate well. So you have to figure out how to communicate effectively. We have a model that we share with all of our clients on how we communicate with our VAs so that you can get the most out of them. Setting expectations is super important. Creating boundaries so that people know where the line is that they're allowed to cross or not cross. And then over communicate. And then make them respond to you that they know exactly what to do. Not, do you understand? No, show me you understand. That's a massive difference than saying, well, do you get it? Do you understand what I mean? They're like, yeah, I got it. No. Show me that you got it. Then we know for a fact, right? And I think that most people don't want to take that extra step to know for certain that they understand. And because of that, they always end up in kind of a challenge situation.
Thank you. But how can they show you that they understood?
So if I'm telling you to do something, here's how you do it. Now go do it and show it to me. No, that's not what I meant. Here's what I meant. If you would have done this differently, this is how it should have, the output should have been. So we actually ask people to do what we say. And even in our SOPs, we use, in our videos, we use a system called play, pause, do. So play the video, we give instructions. The video says, pause the video and do what we just said. So they pause the video, they do what we just said, then they come back, they play the video. Okay, great. Now that you just did that, the next step is to do this. Pause the video and do this. Then they do that and they come back. So play, pause, do, over and over and over. And that's how we do it. And then we make them teach someone else. If they can teach someone else, then they know. And so that's a lot of how we make sure that people are very, very skilled.
Thank you. Tell us about what inspired you to start leveraging virtual assistants.
First is I didn't have any money. I didn't have any money to hire local staff. And if I wanted to get my business up and going, I was going to have to cost leverage labor, and outsourcing was kind of the way to do it. So I started hiring people in India and Bangladesh and all over. And then I kind of landed on the Philippines and figured out, okay, this kind of works for me. They get what I'm saying more. They're kind of, more in tune with our styles and our designs and all that stuff. So that helped a lot. And then we've just continued from there and continued to grow and decided to stick with the Philippines. But, the first part, the reason I started outsourcing was simply because I didn't have the financial ability to hire local. I just couldn't afford it. And so then I got the business going, and then I actually hired a bunch of local people and found out you have the same challenges with local people that you do with overseas people. And it's like, well, if I'm going to have the same challenges, let's just do what has more cost leverage. And so we've always done that.
Thank you. The person I find hardest to actually replace is me. What would you recommend to do for you to find a remote VA that can actually do your work? which is like
you're not gonna find somebody to do your work. You're gonna train somebody. You're gonna build them to do your work. If your work is too challenging to pass off to somebody else, you probably need to simplify your processes, right? Because anybody can learn a skill. Anybody can learn to do an activity. Now, the thought process that actually creates the task at hand, what do I do, is based on a strategy. That's going to be harder to kind of train somebody into. So we put people in place maybe that have the strategy ability, so they're really good with strategy. Then or excuse me, in the reverse, we get somebody who can do the actual tactic, right? They can do the work, they can do the activity. Then we find somebody who understands the strategy, and we put the two together. And then I can communicate my strategy to the team. Here's what we're trying to do. Here's how we're going to go implement it. Okay, great. Now you're going to take the lead. These are the people who are going to work with you to go execute it. And then this one person reports back to me. So now I communicate downstream to one person communicates to the team. But that one person, so have you ever read the book Rocket Fuel?
No.
Good book to read. There's the difference between the visionary and the integrator. So I'm a visionary. I think big, I think big picture. I think, okay, here's all the stuff we want to get accomplished. The integrator puts it into work. They go do it. They go communicate it to the team, and the team executes it. But the visionary has to have an integrator. And so what I did is I found somebody who has that integrator, kind of mentality. And then I just trained them up so that they understand what I'm after. So it wasn't something where you could just go look for that one person. It's really hard to find when you're outsourcing. But what you can find is you can find somebody with the mentality, right? With the personality profile. Hey, this person's kind of an integrator. If they're an integrator, I can teach them how to understand me. And that was the part. If I can get them to understand me, then we can have them train a team.
Thank you. What would you do for someone like me? For example, the thing I'm afraid of the most is actually getting my remote VAs poached by my clients. And the reason I'm afraid of that is because it's happened a few times. What would you do? And I know you spoke a little bit about that earlier, but what would you do for a business like mine that has a lot of client-facing roles?
Well, so why would your client want to steal somebody from you?
Because instead of, let's say, if I was to do a job for £2,000, they could pay the person directly and get them for a lot less.
Well, so what are you offering? So, I mean, I think the challenge is that maybe that your service, if your service is so simple that a VA could just do it without needing you, then why is your service worth the money that you're asking for?
Because they wouldn't have known how to do it without me teaching them. Okay.
Well, I understand.
But now
I understand. Yeah. So I think that would be the same question about any business anywhere in the world, right? It's like, oh, if I'm paying an agency or if I'm paying a mechanic, why don't I just steal the mechanic to come work for me? It should be that your service offering is so powerful and unique that there's just no possible way that they would want to not pay you because of what you bring to the table. So I think that there's a breakdown in what you're able to communicate to your clients. They don't understand the value as you. They don't understand it. So what I would do is within somehow in your service offering and your content, if it just looks like a VA is just doing all the work, then of course they're going to try to just undercut you. Like, of course, that's a good business move. Why would you want to pay somebody a higher price for something that you could pay a lower price for if it's the exact same thing? You're not showing them that there's something so unique that they have to have you. They don't know that. So that would be the reason. I don't think it's the VA that's the issue. I genuinely think it's that they don't understand your value proposition, that you actually matter in the process or in the service. They don't recognize that you matter because it just looks so simple, like a VA is just doing it. So I think there needs to be some level there just needs to be some idea that your strategy or whatever it is that you're delivering is so important that you're a part of it that they can't do it without you. But then why would a VA want to leave you? So that becomes the next question. Why would the VA want to leave you? The VA only wants to leave because of money or because of culture, right? There's not a good culture in the company. They don't feel like they're cared for. They don't feel like, like all those things we already discussed.
Nobody wants to leave me, actually. It's that they want the extra, right? So what I'm in situations with is where, some of my clients, they poached my staff, but not in terms of like stealing from me completely, but just as an extra, like, let me do this website, let me do this video, or let me do this whatever thing extra that would have been, 10 times more if they were to, get it from me directly,
Well, right. But so you didn't tell me that they weren't going to get the same level of service by poaching the VA. All you said was that they got it for less, which leads me to believe that the service is something a VA could do, and maybe the value isn't being seen by the client, right? Because, like anybody could undercut me. We're a virtual assistant company, right? We provide VA services. What we provide is we take so much of the pain on the front end of finding, hiring, doing all those things. We take all the pain away from there, but we also take the legal side of it away, to where if they mistreat a VA, there's labor board issues that are a challenge. We take all that risk away. We also make sure that the VA performs well. And if they don't perform well, we'll replace them with a new VA. So there's more benefit to them sticking with us, even if it's a little bit higher price, so that they don't have to worry. So we take some of the pain and the struggle and the challenge and they don't have to go hunt through 20 or 30 or 50 people to find one role. We already did it. And we put the resources forward. We've got a system. We know how to test people. We know how to train people, all those things. So we created a value that makes people want to pay us rather than undercut us. So I think that you need to figure out how to create that value so that they don't even want to consider undercutting you.
Thank you. Tell us where I can find you.
Level9virtual.com. So level9virtual.com, and Joe at level9virtual.com is my email. Yeah. Reach out anytime.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential business titans, providing you with the insights to awaken to your full potential, so you can get paid to be yourself, find true happiness, and manifest anything you desire.